One of our projects here at Spirit of Joy is to tell more stories about our ministries, things that happen both inside of our walls and in the community. We're also inviting some of our partners to tell stories about giving and generosity and how they've learned to do that. And so Katherine and I would like to share a little bit about how we have learned to give and our practice of generosity as part of the life and ministry of Spirit of Joy.
Well, our relationships with our possessions, including our money, starts when we're really young, doesn't it? This is a piggy bank that my grandparents gave me when I was probably 4 or 5 years old. And I would save my coins in this little bank, and some of them I would bring to Sunday school for the Sunday school offering. So habits of sharing begin in childhood and shape our habits as adults and the values that we pass along to our own children. And Jeff and I have shared and modeled the value of giving to our sons, and they in turn now are sharing and passing on that value of giving to their children. That's just the way it works. So one of the faith milestones that we have here at Spirit of Joy is called Kids and Money. It's an opportunity, for one thing, it's an opportunity for parents and their fourth graders to launch some meaningful conversations about money, the spending, the saving, and the sharing of it. Why do we share, we ask the kids. And what does giving have to do with our faith? It's a great question for children, and it's a great question for adults to ponder. I can answer that question for myself by remembering that everything that we have is a gift from God. It all starts with God, and it is all coming from God in the first place to us. And we give back to God in gratitude for the goodness that God has shown our family, to us and to our family, through the hard and lean and sad times, and through the peaceful and joyful times and ordinary times. God's consistent loving kindness has sustained me. It's sustained us. So we give joyfully to the mission of this congregation. So grateful for the many gifts that God has given to us.
So my giving education, my stewardship education certainly began with watching my dad write out checks and put those in the offering on a weekly basis, and to watch that happen. And as Katherine said, that's where it began for both of us, and we hope our boys too. But really learning how to think about giving started with a sermon, and I don't remember a lot of them, including the ones that I've preached, but our associate pastor when I was in high school, Pastor Dennis, got up in front of the congregation with a stalk of celery, and which made us all lean in a little bit to see what in the world he was going to do with that. And he started talking about, let's say the celery is 10 inches long, and he said, the Bible talks about proportionate giving. So I've measured this celery stalk, and this is about an inch of celery. And he said, the biblical guideline is for us to consider giving proportionately of what we have received from God. In particular, the Bible talks about a tithe, which is 10%, but to begin to think about giving in terms of a proportion. So, whatever the size of your salary stock, whatever the size of your income, consider giving a proportion of that. I thought long and hard about that. In high school and college, I didn't have much to share. But in my first job, which was working for my dad, I remember receiving $1,000 a month, and room and board besides that. And remembering Pastor Dennis's sermon, I wrote a check for $100 to the church. Not because I had to, but as he taught in that sermon and in others, it was a way for us to give back to God out of gratitude, remembering that we are blessed to be a blessing. And I would also argue, as I've learned in later years, because the church continues to be God's plan for transforming a broken world, for bringing healing and hope through the love of Christ. So since those early days in our marriage, we have made a commitment to that kind of proportionate giving, to tithing in our case. Sometimes it's been easier than other times. Not felt that it's a law or a demand, it's not a commandment, but a way for us, it's another kind of spiritual discipline or practice. So we try to pray daily and worship weekly and then give regularly, proportionately out of the gifts that God has given us. People have asked me over the years about tithing. Do we have to do it? Is that 10% of your gross or net? Is it 10% of disposable? Again, this is not a commandment, a law, but I think it's a way that the Scriptures guide us towards regular giving and a traditional guideline or benchmark for how to give. Another question is asked, well, should that percentage or that 10% all go to the church? I'm thrilled if people are thinking about that kind of proportionate giving to the church and whatever else might be blessed by your giving. Again, I believe that the church is God's plan for healing the community and the world, so it's where we begin. But Katherine and I also give to other organizations as well, from public broadcasting to those who advocate environmental care to other extensions of our larger church. So thank you for sharing generously of your income, of your gifts, and thank you for your partnership in ministry in this way. Peace be with you.